Do I gavel it and then say it? I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Director Hayes, would you please read the mission and vision statement?
Yes, I'll be happy to. Mission statement: the Davenport Community School District is dedicated to growing excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics for every child by ensuring the highest quality education in an environment shaped by our diverse community, preparing our students to be lifelong learners and productive citizens. Vision statement: education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you. Director Potts, would you please read the guiding principles?
Guiding principles. Opportunity. We provide abundant opportunities to empower students to reach their full potential academically, creatively, and socially. Collaboration. We foster an environment that allows students, families, and community stakeholders to come together for the betterment of our students' education and future. Transparency. We share relevant and important information with our students, families, and the community to maintain open and productive communication.
Thank you. Superintendent Schneckloff, would you please read the goals?
Goal 1, enhance student learning, and Goal 4, foster the innovative use of finances, facilities, and staff.
Thank you. I will now conduct a public hearing for approval of the 95% plans and specifications for the call wall replacement at Harrison, Walcott, and Wood. Notice the hearing was published in the Quad City Times on February 16th, 2024. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the microphone or call 1-312-626-6799 and enter the meeting ID 982-3621-5612 and passcode 641762. State your name and address for the record. Is there anybody wishing to speak on this? Seeing and hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. May I have a motion and a second?
Madam President,
Director Potts?
I move the board approve the plans and specifications for the call wall replacement at Harrison, Walcott, and Wood as shown in the 95% plans and specifications.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. And just as a comment, Director Beck is online. So I'll start with Director Beck.
Yes.
Oh, and Director Gosa also is online. Director Gosa?
Yes.
Director Barnes?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carried. We'll now move on to recognitions, and I'll turn it over to Superintendent Schneckloff.
Thank you. One of the best things about Davenport Community School District is its educators. And in many of our schools, we have professional educators that actually do the profession that we hire them to do outside of our school walls. What that does is it allows our students to have an experience like no other. And tonight we wanted to recognize one of our teachers who is a local artist that helped. Brenda, will you bring the picture up, please? Mr. Schaefer from Davenport West was part of the team, the crew that created the artwork at the memorial at Vets Memorial Park. It's an absolutely stunning piece of work right on the river, which is multiple years of planning and everything going into it. It was an incredible day, the unveiling of that. And when we were down there, we had an opportunity to purchase one of the prints for that. And so we wanted to bring Mr. Schaefer here and kind of and be able to take a picture with Mr. Schaefer and just basically talk about this piece of art one last time inside of our community, and also kind of help us with your artistic eye figure out the best place for the piece of artwork to go inside of our boardroom to be on display for our family. So, Mr. Schaefer, if you wouldn't mind coming on up here and just kind of talking to our board and our community just about this piece of artwork, what you've got into it, and then we're going to take a picture, and then we'll get going.
Thank you, Mr. Nickloff. That was quite an introduction. So, yes, I kind of grew up believing that as a teacher, I think I should be able to do what I teach, and I take a lot of pride in that. Try to do a lot of artwork outside of the classroom and bring that into the classroom the kids can see. And unfortunately, this project, when it started, was 2020 when COVID hit. So this was all my own project. The students that are down below are with Mr. Zinn's class, and they welded the frame and worked on that whole design. When this project first started in 2020, it was just a discussion sitting around the flagpole down at Veterans Memorial Park, and a few of the veterans were talking about this idea when they said a 40-foot mural that was going to be freestanding. I was like, wow, this is going to be a project. So I was a lead teacher at that time, so unfortunately I didn't have students. It was COVID, so didn't have a team, and I thought, oh, I can pull this off. I just put enough time into it. And so that's what I always try to teach the kids too, is that taking on projects, just piece by piece, putting something together that you make a plan and you stick with it. And it takes quite a while, as I did with this one. Finished it in 2021 and then was packed up for a couple years. And I think originally they thought they were just going to pound in some treated 4x4s and just screw these boards to it. As the committee came out, the mayor saw it. They realized they need to do more than that. And one of our big people in the district, going to Mr. Zinn, who gets things done, he looked at this and thought we could really do something cool. Started to incorporate glass on it, lights on it, the whole shebang. So this project really started out small and then really, took over as major portion of my life for a year. So I'm glad I got it done. And boy, it was pretty emotional that day, just with all those people down there and getting to celebrate with my family and all the people from the district and all the veterans that were down there, and just all the stories I've heard from the veterans, how important it is to have this there. One of the things that you may not know if you haven't seen it in person, there's a lot of letters and notes from World War II and Vietnam that are buried inside of the painting. One of those was a letter from my grandpa, which is pretty important to me. So just, getting to include some of those letters, and not that you can read all of them, but just that you can see it's in those veterans' handwriting, and I think a pretty impactful mural that hopefully is a dedication to those who have served for our country. So thank you.
Anybody have a comment, question? It's awesome. I was there when it was it is very cool.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
If not, we actually have our print here. So if you would, we'll do Sarah, if you want to come up and take a picture, we'll just do kind of a little ceremonial. You hand it over to us, and we'll get a picture taken. All right.
We have no presentations tonight. Next up is student board reports, so let you start.
Hi, my name is McKenna. I'm from West High School. The construction at West of a new gym and the redo of our current gym is currently ahead of schedule, and we are very excited about the new facilities and the facelift that is coming to the old gym. Our robotics team is currently on their way to Florida to compete in a robotics competition down there, so we wish them the best of luck. And our winter sports have come to an end. Our basketball team sadly finished up their seasons this past week after amazing seasons for both teams. Very proud of them all. We had several wrestlers go to state and even a swimmer go to state. So we are very proud of all of them and their efforts this season. Our spring sports are starting their preseason training. So that's all I have.
Central's JV and varsity show choirs just ended an incredible competitive season. Both groups performed at competitions at Davenport North, Mount Pleasant, Benton Community, and Western Dubuque. They also hosted the Great River Show Choir Invitational at the Adler, which had brought in groups from all over the Midwest. The varsity group Central Singers Incorporated placed grand champions at 3 out of 4 competitions, and a special congratulations to Junior Bailey Parker, who received the award for Best Soloist at every single competition we attended. The JV group Blue Vibrations placed first in their division at 3 out of 4 competitions, and Central Show Choir Pit Band received the Caption Award for Best Bands at all competitions. To end the season, all high school show choirs in the district will perform at the Adler in the annual show choir show-off on Monday, March 4th.
Now, Central's top jazz band has also had an amazing competitive season. They placed 4th at UNI's Tall Corn Jazz Festival and 3rd at Coe College's Jazz Summit. This is the highest that Central has ever placed at UNI's festival, and the first time since 1992 that the jazz band has had a top 3 finish at Coe College. Central will also be hosting the Southeastern Iowa Band Association Jazz Competition this Saturday. I know one of our groups performs at 10:45, and there will be plenty of amazing high school performances all day long, and we encourage you all to come see us. Yeah.
The drama department is gearing up for their spring production of Mamma Mia. The auditions were held in early February, and performances are the 18th through the 21st of April.
Now, the varsity basketball team had an intense game against Muscatine last week, winning 46-45, but their sub-state journey has ended in a tough game against Dubuque Senior last Friday, as well as that our track teams have their first meet this Tuesday at the St. Ambrose University campus. And finally, students from Central's top choir, our concert chorale, have the honor of being selected to perform alongside the world-famous rock band Foreigner this Saturday at the Vibrant Arena at the Mark. Of course, aside from the fact that Foreigner is an amazing band, we're going to sing pretty amazing there, I think, so I would encourage everybody to attend as well.
Hello, everyone. I am Ethan Cepeda, the student board representative of North High School. I would like to start off my report by congratulating the girls' varsity basketball team here at North. The team had an amazing season this year, and they even went undefeated in the conference play, which was nice. And they played today, and while they sadly did not win the quarterfinal match, they played with so much passion, and it was just a great way to end the season, even if it didn't result in a win. And then the support and school pride was immense. We even needed a second bus just to charter students to the stadium because everybody was so excited to see the team this year and finally see the North teams like make it to the state, because sometimes we tend to falter, but this year we had a very strong season. So yeah. And another impressive achievement won by our varsity teams came from our bowling, where the boys varsity team finished 7th and the girls varsity team finished at an impressive 3rd place in the respective competitions. But as for other news, fellow seniors and parents of seniors, it is not too late to purchase a cap and gown for the class of 2024. But make sure you do purchase it as soon as possible, not only to be prepared to walk the stage on June 2nd, but also because the price will continue to steadily rise until graduation. To note, these caps and gowns are needed to walk the stage at the graduation ceremony at the Vibrant Arena. Additionally, both North and Central are nearly halfway to their goal of $26,000 for their prom after party event. So I would like to thank everyone who has both participated in and donated to our fundraising endeavors. However, as April comes closer, we still need your help to make this event free for all students at North and Central. The advantages of having a controlled district-led free after party are substantial, as it creates a safer environment for students and their peers to celebrate, and decreases the chances of students being drawn to unmonitored and potentially risky parties in the area. So here are some of the fundraisers in order to help achieve our goal at this after party. We all love to accomplish multiple things at the same time, whether it be something charitable or personal. And here is the perfect opportunity to achieve just this. We will be partnering with Queen Bee Boutique in Milan, Illinois. And for every dress or tuxedo rental used for the North Central prom, $10 will then be donated to our after party. As well as this, we will also be having some Dine to Donate opportunities, the first of which will be at Portillo's from 5 to 8 p.m. on March 7th, where among every customer who made sure to mention this fundraiser to employee, 20% of all these sales will go towards the after party. And that was all the information I was able to compile, so that is the end of my report.
Thank you very much. On to board reports. Anybody? Director Gosa?
None at this time.
Director Beck?
None at this time.
Director Poston?
Since our last meeting, I was able to visit Madison Elementary, and I want to thank Principal Barr and teachers Bailey, Dugan, Shootman, Seifert, Pennock, Wilkinson, Dirks, and Vaughn for allowing me to visit their classrooms. On Saturday, I attended a legislative forum at Eldridge Library. There was very good attendance from area lawmakers with much discussion on SSA, teacher pay, and AEAs. The House bill on SSA is at 3%, and they are now waiting on the Senate to move on the bill. Representative Gary Moore announced that the teacher pay bill was coming out today out of the Appropriations Committee, and they are proposing first year starting pay of $47,500 and then going up on the second year to $50,000. I would also like to acknowledge the passing of Ray Hambright. Ray was a former school board member, and I'd like to extend sympathy to his family. I would also like to acknowledge the passing of Tom Murphy, former Davenport Central teacher and coach. Extend sympathy to his family. He was a great mentor to so many, and I enjoyed when Tom and Ira Dunsworth hunted on our farm. I will also never forget 4 stations drill at football practice.
Thank you. Anyone else? I attended McKinley's Multicultural Day a few weeks ago. It's always a great event they put together. I'd also like to thank Heather White and Corey Guy at Jackson. I was able to sit in on a Black History Month lesson in Heather White's classroom, and Corey Guy gave me a tour of Jackson, so I appreciate that. Okay, up next is open forum. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak, please fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The forum is available in hard copy for in-person attendees or on the school board page of the district's web page for those who want to participate virtually. Virtual participants may email their request to Brenda T. at tbren@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. Iowa open meeting laws prohibit action on any issue that is not on the agenda. I will set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. You'll be asked to state your name and home address prior to making remarks. To participate virtually, call 1-312-626-6799 and enter meeting ID 8231513737 and passcode 316867. Were there any virtually? No. Okay, I have one open forum request. It is from Brett Johnson. You have 2 minutes, and please state your name and address and push the button so the green light goes on to talk. Thank you.
My name is Brett Johnson. My address is 1930 East 14th Street, Davenport, Iowa. All right. So the reason why I'm here today is because there is an issue. My child goes to McKinley Elementary. TJ, I have been in an email with you, Jabari Woods. A teacher put his hands on my son. This is day 26 of the, or day 20 of this. It happened February 6th. I made a police report. I came up to HR, spoke to HR. There is an actual video of this. I've asked to obtain the information to get the video. I was not denied the request. I was ignored the request. I've asked for it multiple times from their equity HR director, Jabari Woods. I will be appealing that decision that Jabari Woods had on the video. And the 3 questions that I have. One question is, how can I get information to obtain that video? For one. For two, the second question is, what are your parental contact policies? Because when the issue did happen at the school, my son was brought into the office. He was calmed down and sent back to the class with a teacher who did assault him. Like I said, this is on video. I was shown the video by Mr. Vincent twice at McKinley Elementary School. And also to my third one is, why was there no consequence for this teacher at all? I'm not saying any teachers' names or anything like that, but I want to know why there was no consequence at all. There was no formal apology to my son, nor to me or my family for the time that we had to spend in the office talking to Mr. Vincent about this. Like I said, this happened February 6th. Today is February 26th, and nothing. The only thing that I got out of it was that I was supposed to get a transcribe from Jabari about the video and what he's seen. I did not get a transcribe. I did not get it. I got something very small telling me that the findings were that what my son had said was corroborated, and that was it. No apologies, no anything. So I would like to know what's going to be done about this and why this teacher has no consequences and why he is able to put his hands on my son. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, to conserve time and focus attention on non-routine matters on the agenda, the board will consider a number of items grouped together as a consent agenda. All items to be approved in one motion. Before a motion is made to consider the consent agenda, any board member may request an item be removed from the consent agenda. The removed item will then be considered for separate action. May I have a motion and second on the consent agenda?
Madam Vice President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
It is moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next up, superintendent's report.
None at this time.
So you don't want to take up some time. Next up, committee reports. We will start with breaking barriers.
Director Barnes, Superintendent Sneckloff, and myself met briefly on the 20th to discuss plans for our upcoming meeting, actually our first meeting. Various stakeholders are currently being identified in contact, and we should meet. And we've all decided in this particular meeting, in comparison to the past when we had passed, we talked about a lot of things, and we did implement some things, but we just kind of dropped it. And this will be a for sure working meeting. So we're trying to identify those to be at the table. And, you know, one comment that I really took away from that is the ones that were invited will be actually individuals from companies, corporations that are able to make decisions, not someone that can get the information, take it back, get an approval, and come back, and we'll do something about it. So we're looking forward to our first meeting on the 26th
Thank
of
you.
March.
Legislative advocacy? Nothing? Director Gosa?
None at this time.
I know. Local School Improvement Advisory Committee? Director Beck? Director Barnes?
Lysiak met last Tuesday. We had a very good meeting with members of the community as well as building staff, and the in-depth discussion was on student attendance. Three things to report. One was in respect to what Director Hayes just mentioned, the restoration of the Breaking Barriers Committee and its impact or potential impact on student attendance. Also, there was discussion about building level attendance rollout, the focus at the building level on attendance, and then also building level engagement teams to build both excitement and deeper engagement in learning. So very good meeting overall.
Thank you. Long Range Facility, Director Potts?
No report. We haven't met since our last meeting.
Policy, we meet next week. Finance Committee?
No, nothing at this time.
Okay. 11.01, items requiring action, the Truman Drainage and Facade and Playground. May I have a motion and a second?
Madam Chairwoman,
Director Poston.
Board approved the IMEG Corporation contract for the design of Truman Drainage and Facade Project and Playground for $19,800.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The next up, 11.02, the bid for Williams Roof Project. May I have a motion and a second?
Madam Vice President,
Director Hayes?
I move the board award the bid for Williams Intermediate Partial Replacement and Roof Restoration Project to the lowest responsive bidder, Black Hawk Roof Company, in the amount of $793,200.
Second.
It is moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up is 11.03, Core Knowledge Language Arts. May I have a motion and a second?
Madam Vice President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the purchase agreement for Core Knowledge Language Arts Amplify grades K through 5 for an 8-year license for student materials, M-Class intervention, and boost reading in the amount of $3,493,023.56.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions, discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, say same sign. Motion passes. 11.04, secondary literacy purchase. May I have a motion and a second?
Madam Chairwoman,
Director Poston.
move the board approve the purchase agreement for Houghton, Mifflin, Harcourt into literature grades 6 through 11 for an 8-year contract in the amount of $2,805,406.54.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? I do have one. We've approved a lot of textbooks in the last couple months, and rightfully so, but they all seem to expire in 8 years. And in 8 years, I'm not sure that we can afford, without the ESSER money, to renew all these at that cycle. So have we looked at a plan on that?
Yes, so part of our 5-year projections is putting in an annual curriculum revision budget. And so moving forward, we do have this budgeted in our 5-year projection and continuing on past that.
Okay, so we aren't going to hit 8 years and suddenly go, whoa, we got to do them all at once. Okay, thank you.
And every piece of our curriculum is put onto a calendar that Diane and her team are looking at.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions, all those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 11.05, the academic calendar for 24-25. May I have a motion and a second?
Madam Vice President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the academic calendar for the 23-24 school year as presented.
No, read down it. That was a mistype. It's 24.
Or 24-25, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Could I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any questions or discussion? Director Hayes.
I do have one question with the start date on a Friday, and I question what the attendance will be like. We'll start school on Friday. Kids are not geared up. They've played all week, not ready to go to school on a Friday. Why do we not just wait until Monday to start off fresh? Go to school a week and then get out a day next week for the holiday.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes. When the legislature set the start date, it was the 23rd. We just picked the first available date to start, knowing that there would be some difficulties with that. To your point, Director Hayes. Also knowing that there are some things that we have been doing the past couple of years at the high school with our 9th graders, using that as a way to bridge them into the high school and to provide them with some more individualized attention. That was the rationale for the start date.
And we also believe the legislature is going to change the start date, which will be coming back, correct? Which one?
If the legislature chooses to move it up, it would either be to the Tuesday following the state fair, or there was another proposal that it would be the Monday, I believe. So if that change is made, we will be bringing another iteration of the calendar back to the board.
Glad we get the state fair in there. Any other, Director Barnes?
Is there a reason that the date of graduation is not included in the academic calendar?
No.
Perhaps if there is a revised calendar, that might be a date that's included. Seems to be a consequential date for the school district.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
You're opposed. Got it. Okay, motion passes. Next up is the AEA resolution that we paused last time. The following motion was made by Hayes and seconded by Klein Jerome at the February 12th, 2024 meeting. 2023 meeting, I think it's 24 meeting. And it was, I move the board approve the Area Education Agency resolution as presented. Subsequently, Director Potts moved and Klein Jerome seconded. The board postponed that motion. The motion to postpone passed by a vote of 6-1. As a result of those board actions, we have an open motion on the table. Is there any discussion? Anything you want taken out?
Madam Chair, I move to amend the motion to strike the first whereas sentence.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Director
I would
Potts.
just say, I know my experience in the past, we have had good service from AEA and we have had not so good service from AEA. And as the AEA has contracted itself, the services that we've been offered, particularly in special ed with respect to social workers, consultants, and psychologists, has been diminished considerably. And I just think the first sentence would be, in my opinion, is not necessarily 100% accurate.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, so our first vote is on the motion to strike the first 2 lines of the resolution. All those in favor of striking that first whereas section, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. Okay, so the motion carries. So now,
Did you guys hear me vote there?
I'm sorry.
Could you hear me? I voted aye on the no.
We did not hear that. Thank you. So now we are going to vote on the resolution minus that first line
As amended.
as amended. Do I have to read it? Okay. Whereas the Davenport Community School District believes the current AEA structure should be maintained and enhanced. If the structure is altered in any manner, a comprehensive study should be conducted prior to making any changes. That study should include educators, parents, and school board members as full voting participants. Those educators, parents, and school board members should be appointed by the local school district and the AEA. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the board, passed and approved this 26th day of February 2024. Okay, all those in favor of the amended motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Policies for approval.
Madam Vice President,
Director Hayes.
the Policy Committee recommends that the board approve policies 202.05, 206.03, 206.04, 208, 209.01, 209.06, 505.01, and 701.03.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions about these policies? Director Poston.
On the section on financial records, so everything that's highlighted in green, that was added to. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that replaces what was taken out at the bottom.
Yes, that pink paragraph was what was in there. And so it was redone with those green things and separated out rather than putting it all together. And it has gone through Kevin, so. Any other questions? All good? It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Discussion items. Algebra 1 curriculum resource adoption turned over to the superintendent.
As usual, we have our team from our curriculum department here to discuss.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. We do have a couple items on the agenda. And the first one is Algebra 1. And we have Alyssa Hansel this evening to speak to some background information. And we're here to answer any questions that you might have with Algebra 1 adoption of the curriculum resource. Just want to emphasize again the consistency in this process and going through the phases to ensure that we have teacher voice as well as a decision-making process that is embedded in the research. And then after algebra, we'll move into the social studies middle school. And Melissa Trimble is here with us this evening for that. So I'll hand it over to Alyssa with a few comments to kick it off.
Like Diane said, my name is Alyssa Hansel, and I'm the interim math specialist. The curriculum resource adoption team is completing the 6-phase process to select the final recommendation for an Algebra 1 textbook. 48 teachers across all 4 high schools and all 5 middle schools participated in the review to determine the best resource for our students. This included 24 math teachers, 9 middle school math teachers, 24 high school math teachers, 9 middle school teachers, 5 special ed teachers, 4 tag teachers, 4 ELL teachers, and 2 instructional coaches. This purchase will place a classroom set consisting of 30 Algebra 1 textbooks in all Algebra 1 classrooms, a consumable journal and practice workbook for each student, and digital textbook access for an 8-year span of time, which will take us through June of 2032. In addition, professional development will occur through a coaching model and funded through district teacher quality funds. Do you have any questions?
Director Barnes, do you have a question?
Will the textbooks remain in the classroom, or are they classrooms designated for?
Yeah, that's a great question. The physical textbooks will remain in the classroom, but they have the digital online access, so they can take their Chromebook with them anywhere.
And my second question, are the consumables, are they calculated in this cost that you're presenting today?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Any other questions, comments? I just have one, and it actually pertains to every one of these new adoptions that we're doing. When you go in and are observing teachers who are for the first time doing this, be gentle and reassure them this isn't a gotcha moment. It's new, and if you aren't getting it, we understand it, but there are some teachers out there that feel like it's a gotcha moment. So like I said, be gentle, be kind, and reassure them that's not what you're looking for. Because it is stressful to have 4 or 5 people suddenly come in with the clipboard brigade. And we have a lot of curriculums going on, and I'm sure there's a lot of people observing this.
like to follow up. Thank you for that comment, and that reminder. It is something that, in collaboration with the decisions, we also need to make sure that the implementation piece is collaborative as well. And knowing that the reason we're doing it and the why behind it is so important. And the why behind it is to across the building and then across all buildings, find out what's working and what's not, because then that informs what supports what professional learning is needed. So we need that common message with all of the resources, because I think if we're speaking in that language for one, it's the same across all curriculum resources, which is so important to move away from a gotcha mentality to more of an a way to inform our next steps. So thank you.
Just make sure the message is to all of them.
Yes.
That would be helpful. Any other questions, concerns? Director Gosa, Director Beck?
Done at this time.
Okay. Oh, Director Poston.
On the cost, it talks about the total amount, but then it also talks about $65,760 for district teacher quality funds. Where is that coming from? Is that out of the general fund or?
That comes, the professional learning that's attached to this is teacher quality dollars from the district. So there are three buckets for teacher quality: district funds, building funds, and then teacher funds. So this professional learning would come out of the teacher quality district funds.
Anybody else? Is this ESSER? We're paying ESSER for these? Okay. Okay, thank you for that one. On to the middle school social studies curriculum resource adoption.
Good evening, everybody. Melissa Trimble, now wearing my social studies specialist hat. The curriculum resource adoption team is in the process of completing those 6 phases that we're all going through. And this one is to select final recommendations for grades 6, 7, and 8 social studies, textbooks, and resources. We had teachers across all 5 middle schools participate in the work done with this over the past year during professional development time that the district has allotted. And the purchase would place classroom sets consisting of 25 textbooks in each classroom, as well as digital textbook access for an 8-year span of time. The resource we ended up selecting was through Savas. It's the My World Interactive, and they have 3 different titles that we would use. It's the My World World History, My World World Geography, and My World American History, and those are the titles that correspond to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. What questions do you have?
Anybody have a question? Director Potts.
The 8th grade American history is from when to when?
American history starts at the earliest kind of Americas, so the founding fathers, if you will, and then we go up to usually through Reconstruction. Usually. The problem with that is that's usually been our dividing point. And then in 10th grade is where they start with Reconstruction and go forward, but that keeps getting bigger as we keep getting more history in our years. So that is kind of where the textbooks have it broken right now. I will say, though, that the American history book that we're considering goes a little beyond that in case we need to flex that line a little bit once we start looking into high school. It's hard to do that much history and get to current history otherwise. It is a lot. Exactly. Yes. We're looking forward to looking at that.
Any other questions? What does the interactive part of this mean? How is that different than I've got a textbook?
The interactive component will mean that it's really more than just you open up a book and can read online. The teachers will be able to assign homework, assign videos to watch, and it's more of a student can go in and do more things. The teacher can assign specific things, and it's within that world instead of having to do something like Google Classroom. A lot of them, though, will be completely interactive with Google Classroom as well, and this one happens to be. So if a teacher assigns a student, they can assign it through Google Classroom, and then the platform goes right back in. So it's a seamless transition. But that's the interactivity of it. It's not just you open it and it's a book to read from. There's actually more that the students can do within it.
Okay. Director Gosa or Beck, either one of you?
Yeah, this is Director Beck. I couldn't hear what Director Potts said about the history when he was repeating back.
He likes to teach a certain period of time.
Yeah, I just asked what the 8th grade American history, what is the start and end period? What is the framework or the time periods that they're covering?
Okay, yeah, I got that part. I'm sorry. I thought there was more that I missed. Along those lines, I do have a question. So, you guys said that it went back to the earliest Americas or of America. Do you mean like the 1600s iteration or the founding of the actual United States? And right now it only goes through Reconstruction, but you said there's an ability to flex that a little bit. Is there a plan to perhaps proactively bring that forward a little so that perhaps we go through, say, right before World War I or something like that to make sure that our students are getting a full picture of the nation's history?
I would say yes to all of those questions. I, first of all, would say that 1600s is probably a safe bet. The 6th grade curriculum I know goes from ancient civilizations all the way through like medieval times. So then we kind of have that as our starting point, but within a few little, few years, few hundred years there. So I think that it would be fair to say 1600s, 1700s would be the start time for grade 8. And yes, that flexibility is what we're really going to look very closely at to see if we can gain some ground past Reconstruction and get further in our history timeline in 8th grade so that then we have that flexible time in 10th grade when it comes back again to be able to get to current times.
Thank you. And then the 10th grade is required, correct?
Yes, U.S. history is required in 10th grade for graduation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Director Gosa? Okay. Anybody else? Thank you for both of these. Next up, 12.03, plow truck replacement. Ooh, this is exciting.
I know everybody looks forward to the trucks every year, right? So this is our normal routine truck replacement for the maintenance department. They're just requesting a couple of trucks to be replaced in our normal cycle of things. We haven't replaced a few trucks for a couple of years, but as you can see, these trucks, some of them are 20 years old. We're looking to go out for our bid. We're getting local bids and also following state contract to get pricing on these. So this is kind of an estimate of what we're looking at for prices. Any questions?
Do we trade these in? Do we get any kind of
We do trade them in.
and get what, $1.95 for those costs?
They don't tell us until we actually bring them there, so it's really hard to tell because timing can take a few months. We could put a couple thousand miles on a truck depending on the use. So,
yeah. Anybody else have a question?
I have a quick question.
Director Gosa?
Josh, what kind of trucks are you looking at replacing those with?
Ford F-250s.
Good answer. Thank you.
No problem.
I could have answered that. I knew what he was going to. Any other questions?
Josh, where do these funds come from?
They're PEPAL funds.
Okay, thanks.
That's it. Okay, thanks. Now we move on to 12.04, the Wilson chiller boiler upgrade.
So this is kind of a bigger project for Wilson. Last summer we had some cooling issues with our cooling system going down in the building, and we had to actually get a rental unit in to kind of get us by for a few weeks of the summer when it got close to 100 degrees or over 100 degrees. We've kind of worked with Train the last few months trying to work out a project that would make sense to gain some energy efficiency as well as replace the existing system. So this project is through an Omnia contracted pricing through the state with Train. This would be replacing our current cooling system in the building this summer and fall. One of the things we're kind of looking at this, like I said, it was an energy efficiency project. We've been asking about doing something along those lines for a while. This is a spot where we also need to replace the unit, but we can also do some efficiency upgrades at the same time. So with a federal rebate or tax credit, we're looking at potentially, I think up to around $500,000 for a rebate or a tax credit on this project. Now I know we don't pay taxes, so how do we get a rebate? But specifically within the documents of this government, they're saying we can apply for the credit. So we can take this information and put it forward once we kind of got it approved, and then they'll work with us to see what kind of rebate we could get. I also have Mike Lear from Train here. If anybody has any specific technical questions, he'd be happy to answer.
Director Barnes?
Am I to interpret that we are abandoning the geothermal and completely, so that technology we're abandoning for a new and different technology?
That's correct. We've tried to repair the geothermal system there a number of times. And I believe when it was put in 20-ish years ago, 25 years ago, it was already kind of borderline about whether we should or shouldn't do it. And at that time, they decided to do it anyway.
So it's at the end of its useful life. It's fully depreciated. We have no...
Really is. We keep sticking money into it. We should stop sticking money into it.
It doesn't seem to be a very good case study for alternative technologies here, geothermal. So abandoning completely, new system, more efficient.
Yep. A newer technology.
Anyone else have a question, comment? Director Gosa?
I don't have anything.
Director Beck?
Not at this time.
I do have, like, how many geothermal buildings do we have in the district that are probably the same age?
Mr. Larry, you'll have to come up to the microphone. Sorry.
So Mike works with a lot of on these projects, so he's pretty specific to knowing a number of our buildings. But
Thank you.
Push the button. There you go. Thank you.
All right, Mike Lair with Train Company. You've got two types of geothermal systems in the district. You have what's called the injection well system, where you actually pump water into the aquifer, pull it back out. I want to say you have 4 of those. This is one of the 4. And this is really what we found to be problematic over time. And then I do believe you have other geothermal closed loop systems also in the district.
we probably have around a half a dozen of those.
Right.
Are they more reliable, the closed loop, or are we looking at having to replace all of these here pretty soon?
So the closed loop definitely is more reliable. The injection well is certainly depending on the aquifer that's underneath the entire district, but it's also, that same aquifer is connected to other parts of the city that might be using that particular aquifer. So over time, the aquifer can certainly change in its depth and its behavior. And I think the other issue is when you're pulling water out of the aquifer and we're running it through these heat exchangers in the school, they tend to lime up, or they end up to where they gum up, for lack of a better word, and then become very corrosive, and then you lose all this heat transfer because of the corrosion. And so an open system is can be much more susceptible to these kinds of breakdowns and failures. Than we just have a harder time making air conditioning when we should be. So yes, the open systems. I think the other three, at some point, most likely you will need to address the other three as well. But this is the most problematic one of the four.
So the other three are operational right now, and we're not having problems with them?
Correct. Not nowhere near to the degree in which we're having at Wilson.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Next up, 12.05, Bray Architects as designers for bus lot relocation project.
So part of our phase one projects are doing turf fields and baseball fields down by Brady Street Stadium. In order to get those projects moving forward, we need to move or relocate the bus lot itself. So this contract would be for Bray to get started and move forward with design and construction of those buildings and parking lots. Besides having to move these parking lots for a field or baseball field across the street, they're also at the end of life as well themselves. So the timing of this is actually very good. The buildings are in really tough shape. The bus drivers don't have a great spot to land when they come back to the office. The people working there don't have a great spot to work. The parking lot, we are sticking endless amounts of dollars in every year to do repairs. So not only is this a good time to do this because of the turf field moves, but also a good time because it really just needs to be replaced. So yeah, we have, I think Bray's agreements for around 6.5% of the project, which is, I believe, part of what our phase one contract was with them for design fees around our projects in phase one. This parking lot would hold, we believe, around 93 buses. It would also hold 100 cars, so staff parking would no longer be parking on the roads around the facility and in other people's parking lots. We would also take down a building in this project. We're planning to take down a building that's an older and rough shape down in the National Guard buildings. We would also construct a new maintenance garage that would connect to one of the existing buildings that's already on the lot. So it's hard to explain, but there's two buildings on there that look exactly the same. And one of them would be half office and half storage and office for the maintenance and shop folks. And then we'd put a 4-bay maintenance garage on with a wash bay included in those 4 bays. Dan, I think you'll have probably a question about the concrete depth, and I think it's going to be either 6 or 7 inches thick.
Director Barnes.
Thanks, Josh. Just looking at the memorandum that we received to consider this project, and then hearing the depth which you provided, I'm actually a little uncomfortable with the lack of depth in the recommendation. I mean, when I looked at the materials and I'm thinking $5.5 million for parking. So I guess I would be more comfortable with maybe a little greater detail in the recommendation, given that this is part of the public record about the buildings, their purpose, and maybe it's just me, but boy, $5.5 million for a new parking lot. I think people deserve a little bit more information.
So to give you a little more information, the office spaces are providing space for probably 20-ish people in and out of there throughout a day. Part of it is a break room, restrooms, controller folks, routers. There's not a ton of people. I agree with that. The majority of the project cost is going to be within the paving and the dirt work. I can't give you an exact amount right now, but I believe over half of it would be just doing that paving and parking lot work.
But just to clarify for Director Barnes, this isn't the scope. This is to hire Bray.
This paperwork
to begin to build the project, so then you can see exactly what's on the actual property. So this is the agreement. We've already done this, but it's a continued agreement to say we are approving Bray to begin
We would come.
finalizing the drawings.
We would come with a lot more greater detailed plans when those things come forward. This is really, I know a lot about this already because we've been trying to plan and get a budget kind of built for it, so we get really specific about it as far as we can. But this would be really to move the things forward with them, so we can.
Thank you. That's helpful clarification.
Director Poston.
When you locate the building with the 4 bays, are you going to have it set up so that it could be expanded and it's not so tight that there's not room to expand the building?
I think that could be accomplished within that parking area and that lot.
Okay. And my other question is on the architect's compensation. During phase 1, I believe it was at 6%, and now we're looking at 7.25%. So why would there be such a increase?
I was thinking this was around 6.5%, and I believe it's the portion of renovation or addition in that contract.
It's on the document, at the very bottom of the document, right above the signatures.
Hold on.
It says architect's compensation estimate.
I don't have that pulled up in front of me, but
7.25%, $354,930.
oh, I see. I believe that's what it fell to. I was thinking it was 6.5, but it falls to 7.25% within the renovation and addition portion of the contract we put forward with them to do phase 1.
What bothers me about this is that this is the only thing in all our projects where we don't get a bid on it. And that bothers me. We've sent a lot of business their way, and I guess I don't know if I understand where working with the same architect through all the different phases and everything is beneficial, but I guess I would go back to the architects and see if they could do anything better as far as their rate.
Okay.
Any other questions, concerns? Director goes, Director Beck.
Yeah, I just have one sort of a follow-up to that. Am I mistaken? And didn't we vote on using Bray Architects, or was there not a vote? Was that just a discussion?
I'm not sure, but we did vote on using Bray Architects for phase 1 projects. Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought I remembered. So basically, this is part of the same package that we kind of discussed already, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Director Gosa.
The only thing I have is kind of along the lines of what Director Poston said. Josh, I would go back to him and see if you can get it around 5.5%, 6% or something, so it saves us a little money with all the projects that we've been utilizing Bray for.
Okay. I'll meet with him this week.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thanks, Josh. Administrative reports.
None at this time.
Board requests. I don't see any of those either. Board reflections. Let's start with Director Barnes.
Just want to thank once again the student representatives and their thorough reports. Lots and lots and lots to celebrate in Davenport Community Schools. And I think we as board members should reflect on that and be very pleased with what's happening in the district.
Director Potts.
I would second that when you realize how important the fine and performing arts are in our district. From the reports we got from those kids to the presentation we had with the veterans deal. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
Director Gosa.
I would just reflect on the awesome job that Vice President Klein Jerome did on facilitating the meeting, especially when you had to bring up a postponed vote. Did a great job.
Thank you. Director Beck.
Sorry, I'm having some trouble with the mute button tonight. I'm going to second what Director Barnes said, that I really think that our student board members do a great job of sharing with us, and also the print and the work that went into the Veterans Memorial Park mural that all of our students and staff have participated in is just incredible.
Director Poston.
Well, I'd just again like to give a shout out to Mr. Schaefer and all the work he did on the Veterans Memorial. I know there was a lot of work involved, and I think we should be proud of the work that the students did in Mr. Zinn's class as far as putting that all together. And it just shows, you know, what our students can do and what they can accomplish.
Director Hayes.
I like the mural project, and also happy to hear that we're really taking an active role in purchasing all this new curriculum, because our students deserve it. They went a long time without replacements, and I'm just happy that we're doing something about it now.
Superintendent Schneckhoff.
Yeah, I echo that. CKLA Amplify curriculum is a big deal. And how we implement it, we talked long and hard about that. How we implement it is critical. How we support the professionals in the classroom are absolutely critical. But this particular piece of curriculum, paired with our letters training and implemented correctly, is right in line with the science of reading. And I'm incredibly excited about this opportunity.
I would echo our student board members. I mean, the opportunities for people to go out and see our kids in action, Mamma Mia at Central, Something Rotten at North, the show choir show off next week. Go out and see them. It's phenomenal to see these kids in action. So with that being said, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Adjourned.